Hello basketball coaches and basketball players, my name is Basketball Coach Allen, and today I am going to talk to you about some different basketball drills that you can run with your team to be able to teach your team how to cut better in basketball. So in this video, first I'm going to break down the different cuts that you should know as a basketball coach as well as a basketball player. So if your players don't necessarily know all the cuts in basketball just yet, definitely share this video with them through an email or whatever your medium is. And let's get down to the clipboard. I'm going to show you these cuts, and then I'm going to show you some drills on how to basically break down these cuts so that you can, teach your team how to cut better. Let's get down to the clipboard and let's stop this talking. Okay, so first there is what's called a backdoor cut. So that can be done either on the weak side or on the strong side, or on the main side, whatever you want to call it. So basically this is when you have either a player with the ball or without the ball, and he passes that ball away unless he doesn't have the ball anyways, and he just cuts behind his man. So if his man is facing this direction, he cuts behind them, and then he could be open for a layup. This would be called a backdoor cut. This is generally really used in plays when that player has the ball. He passes the ball away, he then cuts down the baseline where he will receive the ball back for the layup. He may also receive the ball back, get double teamed by a help defender, and then he'll kick the ball out for a three-point shot. That's also another possibility. Another cut is called the V cut. Essentially, you can do this anywhere on the court as long as it finishes with a V. So you could have player 3 cutting down towards the low block from the free throw line extended, and then he could be popping up towards the elbow. That would be a V cut because obviously this is a V, but generally speaking, what you will see is a V cut being done going down the side of the key down to the block and then making a V out towards the free throw line extended. Again, that makes a V, which then he may be open for a shot depending on what's happening on the court. But basically, this is a way for that player to get himself open and create space between his defender. So just to start really quickly, some drills that you can run out of those two cuts. Now, of course, there are more cuts to know. I'm going to go over them in a second. But basically, how I like to teach my team how to do different cuts is by basically, very simply, having two players on the court. That player, the offensive player, starting with the ball. He will then pass up to the coach or another player, and then player 3 will then cut. Now, you may have a defender there, but personally, if we are running just to teach the cut, I would have a pylon there or a coach. I would have player 3 pass up to the coach. Player 3 would then cut backdoor. The coach would pass it back for a layup. Now, very similar with a V cut, I would have player 3 now pass to the coach. He would cut down the side of the key and then up to the free throw line extended. That's when the coach would pass him the ball, and then I would give them the option to either shoot or drive towards the rim. Now, this next cut I'm going to be talking to you about is called the L cut. And the L cut, quite simply, just basically means that you're making an L. So this could be starting from the perimeter, going down towards the low block and popping out towards the corner. This may also be starting down in the low block, popping up towards the elbow, and then popping out towards the free throw line extended. Those are two different options that you would have as a player for the L cut. And going from there, what we would be looking at for drills is, again, very similar to those other two drills that I showed you earlier, which is just having player 3 start with the ball, pass over to the coach, cut down and out. Coach could then dribble over, pass to the player for a shot, or we could have player 3 start with the ball down in the low block, pass out towards the coach, running towards the elbow, asking for the ball, not obviously getting it, and then popping out towards the free throw line extended, where the coach would then pass the ball to him for that shot. Now, this next cut is called the curl cut, With the curl cut, this is used out near the perimeter. You could also use this in the low post as well. And this is when player 3, he is going to cut underneath the pylon. Of course, this would be a player setting a screen, generally speaking. He would cut underneath the pylon and then curl back towards the center of the key. Now, this is a great move for post players to run, where then he would be able to get that ball for an easy layup. But, of course, perimeter players can use this as well. So how I like to run this is either with a player starting out in the perimeter, or he could be starting in the low block, one or the other. And then he's going to curl around that pylon, and then he's going to be driving right towards the rim where the coach could pass him the ball for the layup. The fifth cut I'm going to show you today is called the flare cut. Now, a lot of coaches misunderstand how this cut actually works. They just think that it's a baseline cut out and simple, but it's not. So basically what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be having a pylon here to simulate a player setting a screen. What we're going to be doing now is having player 3 use that screen and start a curl cut. So he's just about to maybe take one step past that player, and then he's going to be floating out, doing sort of like a defensive slide out towards the corner. Now, the idea behind this is if he has a defender on him, what's going to happen now is he's going to be running along. He's going to take one step past that screen, which is going to make player 3 want to go over top of the screen because he thinks that player 3 is going to be curling back in. When in reality, he's not. Player 3 is going to be popping out towards that corner, which now player 3 will get stuck on that screen. Plus, that little bit of separation is huge when you're trying to get a shot. And now he will be wide open for that three-point shot. He may also want to drive baseline towards the rim, because if player 3 really did get stuck on that pylon or that screen and he took a wide corner out, player 3 may want to have the whole baseline to himself for that layup. Now, this next cut, some coaches will call it a baseline cut. It's actually called a deep cut. A baseline cut is when you already have a player along the baseline and he's cutting baseline, not running out of bounds, but cutting baseline and popping out. Now, this is one option where this is a cut where we could have player 3 just pop out. Coach could pass him the ball for a shot, maybe pass him the ball halfway underneath the rim so that he can go in for a reverse, whatever it may be. But this next cut is called the deep cut. This is very similar to a baseline cut. However, we're going to be having player 3 start at the free throw line extended. He's going to be then cutting across the baseline, across the key, starting at the free throw line extended. And that's going to be a deep cut. Now, this is generally something that you would see ran if you have an offense where we're setting up maybe a 4-out, 1-in offense. We could have player 2 setting that screen. We could have the player pass over to player 4, player 3 doing a deep cut. This would then create a triangle type offense or an open three-point shot for player 3. So a couple of different options there. This is also could be used in the triangle offense as well. So in the triangle offense, we would have, let's just say, the offense at least on one side of the court set up like this. We would have player 3 pass to player 4, and then player 3 would do a high cut down towards the low corner. Sorry, a deep cut, down towards that low corner. Now, this next cut, some coaches call it a UCLA cut. I personally just call it a high screen because that's basically what it is. However, player 2 would pass over to a player over here. We'll call it the coach. Player 4 would then set a screen. However, to use this screen, instead of just curling around it and going in, what you would be doing is going and running straight towards player 4 and then pop out and around so that now you can get your player hung up on player 4 blue, and then you're cutting around him, and now you should have the basket all to yourself. This is a UCLA cut, UCLA high screen, whatever you may want to call it, but some coaches do call that a cut, so that's why I am covering it here. This next cut is called the front cut because you're cutting right in front of your defender. So we'll have player 2 pass over to the coach. And what we're going to be having here is player 2, instead of just cutting down in front of player 2, just simply, no. What you want to do here is act like you're cutting out towards the right side. That's going to bring your player towards that right side. Now you have opened up a little bit of a lane here, and what you're going to be doing is continuing out towards your player and then cutting back in around your player, which should get yourself a nice open layup. Now, this would be a quick 1 to 2 step move, and then you would cut quickly out towards that left side where the coach could then pass you back the ball. Now, as a coach, I would have another coach here playing defense so that now we could make sure that we are really teaching this player how to cut, because if he is not taking his couple steps out and then cutting back down, then we can correct him and say, we need you to cut a little bit harder out towards that right side and then cutting towards the net. This next cut, I personally call a high cut myself. I know some coaches call it a shallow cut. And what we're going to do here is having player 2 at the free throw line extended. If the ball is on this side and we're trying to get open and there's nobody up top at the point, this is when you would do this kind of a cut. And what you're doing is cutting across the free throw line extended, and then once you hit the key, you're popping out towards the point. So now you're calling for the ball this whole distance. You're having both your hands up in front of your chest saying pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball. But as soon as you hit that key, you're then popping up towards the point with one hand so that now you can receive that pass. And with your one hand up, if you get a good pass, you may be able to pivot and take your shot quickly. Now, this is called a flash cut. You can also call this a low to high cut. I've heard that. That's actually what I call it, is a low to high cut. But I have heard coaches call it a flash cut. All my coaches in the past have called it a low to high cut. I don't know. Every coach has a different name for everything. You have to remember that. But player out here has it. Well, that's going to be our coach in this time. And all player 5 is going to do is cut really quickly towards the high post. What you're trying to simulate here, and generally when you're going to use this cut, is going to be when you're against a zone defense. And let me show you really quickly what I mean. So in a zone defense, where let's say we're playing some kind of a zone offense, whatever it may be. Let's say we have 2 post players. So we have 2 post players. Most likely what the defense is going to look like is like this. So pretty much we have the whole side covered. We might have a player wide open on this side, whatever it may be. We're going to have, actually, let's get that player in. Let's say we have these players. That's too many. We have a coach. That's way too many. But let's say we're going to be like this. We're going to have player 5 doing a low to high cut. He's going to be heading towards the high post. And at this time, he's going to be open for that shot. And if he is not, and let's say player 5 popped up, we're now going to have player 3 open in the low post for that layup. So this is when you would do a low to high cut or a flash cut in basketball. I hope that this video helps you and your team win more games. If it does, hit that like button and subscribe, and I will see you guys again later on today for the second video of the day.